The Solace drifted in the void, its gleaming white hull a beacon of peace amidst a galaxy at war. Every corner of the ship bore the universal insignia of neutrality, a blue cross encircled by a ring of stars. Inside, the hum of medical equipment harmonized with the quiet determination of its crew. For decades, the Solace had symbolized hope, treating soldiers and civilians alike without bias. But in war, hope could be fragile. Dr. Elena Merrick adjusted her mask as she leaned over a wounded soldier from a distant colony. Her hands moved with practiced precision, stitching torn flesh, while her mind wandered to her young daughter back on Earth. She had joined the Solace to make a difference, to save lives instead of taking them. The dim lights of the operating room flickered momentarily, pulling her attention back. Power fluctuations again. Elena muttered to Nurse Kellen, who stood nearby. Kellen frowned, his usually steady demeanor cracked by unease. "I'll check with engineering. It's probably nothing." But it wasn't nothing. Without warning, the ship shuddered violently, throwing Elena and Kellen off their feet. Alarms blared, and the sterile air of the medical bay filled with the acrid scent of burning metal. The overhead intercom crackled to life, the captain's voice strained but commanding. "All hands, brace for impact. We are under attack. Repeat, this is not a drill." Elena scrambled to her feet, heart pounding. "Who would attack a hospital ship?" she whispered, her question lost in the chaos. The answer came moments later as the ship's sensors identified the attackers, a Krelian assault fleet. The Krelians were notorious for their ruthlessness, but targeting a medical vessel violated every known treaty. It was an act of pure malice. In the command deck, Captain Idris Kova gripped the edge of his console, his knuckles white. The Solace was unarmed, a deliberate choice to maintain its neutrality. Now, that choice left them defenseless. "Deploy decoy beacons and broadcast our status on all frequencies," Kova barked. "They need to know what they're doing." "They know," murmured his first officer, her voice laced with grim resignation. The Krelians opened fire. Plasma bolts tore through the Solace S-hull, shattering corridors and incinerating entire sections. The ship's medical staff worked frantically to move patients to safer areas, but safety was a fleeting concept. Elena found herself in a triage zone, surrounded by groaning patients and panicked crew. She pressed a bandage to a young man's chest, her hands trembling. "We're going to get you out of here," she lied, forcing herself to believe it. Kellen returned, his face pale. "Dr. Merrick, the engineering deck is gone. Life support's failing." Before Elena could respond, the ship rocked again, this time with a deafening explosion that drowned out the screams around her. The lights flickered and died, leaving only the eerie glow of emergency strobes. On the bridge, Captain Kova stared at the holographic display of the Krelian fleet. The Solace was surrounded, its cries for help unanswered. Desperation clawed at him, but he refused to succumb. "Transmit a final message to Earth," he ordered. "Let them know what happened here." The transmission was brief, a burst of static-laden words that carried across the stars. This is the hospital ship Solace. We are under attack by Krelian forces. Casualties catastrophic. Neutral vessel violated. Earth must respond. As the last words left the comms, the Solace was struck by a final volley. The ship's hull crumpled, its lights extinguished. Drifting in silence, the Solace became a graveyard among the stars. But the message had been sent, and on Earth, the call for vengeance would soon echo louder than ever before. The transmission from the Solace reached Earth's military command late in the night. Within minutes, the somber message was broadcast to the entire planet. News outlets replayed the footage on an endless loop. The panicked voice of Captain Kova, the sounds of explosions, and the stark silence after the signal cut off. The response was immediate and furious. Humanity had endured centuries of interstellar conflict, but even the most hardened soldiers felt the sting of this violation. A hospital ship obliterated, civilians and medics slaughtered. It was more than an attack. It was an affront to everything Earth stood for. General Marcus Halstead, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Fleet, stood in the war room, his broad shoulders tense as he reviewed the data. Around him, holographic displays projected images of the Krelian fleet, their movements, and the last known location of the Solace. "They broke the accord," Halstead said, his voice low but heavy with anger. "They slaughtered non-combatants. If we don't act now, they'll think we're weak." Admiral Lena Park, a tactical genius and Halstead's second-in-command, nodded. "We can't let this stand. The Krelians have always tested boundaries, but this—" She gestured to the frozen image of the Solace's destruction. "This is a declaration of war." Halstead turned to the assembled officers. "Mobilize the fleet. Full deployment. I want every battleship, cruiser, and strike craft ready to launch within 72 hours. Across Earth's orbital shipyards, the fleet's readiness accelerated into overdrive. Engineers worked tirelessly to prepare the towering dreadnoughts, each bristling with advanced weaponry. One such ship, the Erebus, was the pride of Earth's navy, a massive vessel capable of leveling entire planets if necessary. Captain Adrian Cole, the Erebus's commanding officer, stood on the bridge, surveying his crew. His sharp green eyes betrayed no hesitation, but inside, he felt the weight of what was to come. "Status report," he ordered, his voice cutting through the hum of activity. "Engines at full capacity," replied Lieutenant Sarai Vega, the ship's chief engineer. "Weapon systems primed. We'll be ready to launch in 24 hours. Cole nodded. "Good. We won't get a second chance to make this right." The mobilization wasn't just military, it was personal. The Solace's destruction had touched every corner of Earth. Protests turned into rallies, with millions demanding justice. Families of the fallen wept while others volunteered to aid the war effort. Humanity's resolve had crystallized into a singular purpose: retribution. At the United Earth Council chambers, political leaders finalized their declaration. President Elaine Hawthorne, a composed and eloquent leader, addressed the planet in a broadcast seen by billions. "Today, we mourn the loss of the Solace and the brave souls aboard her. But we do not mourn in weakness. Humanity will not cower in the face of such barbarity. We will respond with strength, with unity, and with the full might of our fleet. To those who believe they can strike us without consequence, know this: Earth will not be silent." The speech ignited a fire across the colonies and allied worlds. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers, eager to contribute to the war effort. On the eve of the fleet's departure, the Erebus led the Armada in formation, its massive silhouette casting a shadow over Earth's surface. Thousands of ships followed, their sleek designs glinting in the light of the planet below. In the command center, General Halstead addressed the fleet. "This isn't just about vengeance. It's about sending a message. No one strikes humanity and walks away unscathed. We fight for the Solace. We fight for every life stolen by the Krelians. And we will not stop until justice is served." As the fleet broke free of Earth's gravity, their engines roaring to life, a sense of grim determination settled over the crews. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but retreat was not an option. The stars stretched out before them, and somewhere in the darkness, the Krelians waited. The Earth fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, a wall of steel and firepower against the dark expanse of Krelian-controlled space. At its center was the Erebus, its massive hull bristling with weaponry, flanked by hundreds of cruisers, destroyers, and strike craft. The Krelians were waiting. Captain Adrian Cole studied the tactical display on the bridge of the Erebus. The Krelian fleet was vast, their angular ships designed for raw destruction. Their flagship, the Vornak, loomed at the heart of the formation, its size rivaling even the Erebus. "They're positioning to box us in," noted Lieutenant Sarai Vega, her voice steady despite the tension. "Let them try," Cole replied. "We didn't come here to dance. Signal the fleet. Commence engagement." The first exchange was brutal. Krelian plasma bolts streaked through the void, tearing into Earth's forward vanguard. But humanity had come prepared. The Erebus unleashed a barrage of railgun fire, its projectiles striking with pinpoint precision. Smaller Krelian ships disintegrated under the onslaught, their debris scattering across the battlefield. On board the Erebus, the bridge was a controlled chaos of orders and data streams. Cole barked commands, his crew responding with trained efficiency. Each decision carried the weight of lives, and there was no room for hesitation. Enemy fighters incoming. Vega called out. Deploy interceptors, Cole ordered. Keep them off our cruisers. The interceptors, sleek and agile, launched from the Erebus in swarms. They met the Krelian fighters head-on, the skirmishes lighting up the battlefield like a deadly fireworks display. In the midst of the chaos, General Marcus Halstead directed the fleet from the command carrier Aegis. His calm voice cut through the comms, coordinating strikes and countermeasures. The Krelians are focusing on our left flank, he noted, pointing to a section of the holographic map. Divert the Resolute in vanguard to reinforce. We can't let them breach. Meanwhile, the Erebus pushed forward, its weapons carving a path toward the Vornak. Cole's heart pounded as he watched the enemy flagship grow larger on the display. This is it, he said to Vega. We take out their flagship, and the rest will scatter. The Vornak unleashed its own fury, a massive plasma cannon tearing through the ranks of Earth's fleet. The Erebus shuddered as it absorbed a near miss, its shield straining under the impact. Shields at 45%. Vega shouted. Divert power from non-essential systems. Cole replied. We're not falling back. The Erebus returned fire, targeting the Vornak's main engines. Explosions rippled along the enemy ship's hull, but the Krelians held their ground. On board the Vornak, the Krelian commander sneered at the human fleet's determination. Foolish creatures, he hissed. They think they can match us. But humanity's resilience was more than raw firepower. Earth's fleet had studied the Krelians, learning their weaknesses. The Vanguard, a stealth cruiser, slipped past the chaos and delivered a precision strike to the Vornak's shield generators. Direct hit, Vega reported, her voice electric with triumph. Target their bridge, Cole commanded. Let's finish this. The Erebus fired its main cannon, a beam of energy that pierced the Vornak's hull. The enemy flagship erupted in a blinding explosion, its wreckage scattering across the battlefield. With their flagship destroyed, the Krelian fleet faltered. Some ships attempted to flee, while others were swiftly dispatched by Earth's forces. As the last Krelian ship vanished from the scanners, a cheer erupted across the Erebus. But on the bridge, Cole remained stoic. This isn't victory, he said quietly. Not yet. They'll come back. General Halstead's voice came through the comms. Well done, Erebus. Return to formation. We're not done here. The battle had been won, but humanity's fight was far from over. The destruction of the Solace had been avenged, but the price of peace would be vigilance. As the fleet regrouped, the stars ahead seemed darker than ever.